Hello and welcome back to Wargaming with me, Gary. So what we're going to do today, I've done 6 more figures which I'm really looking forward to showing you. In actual fact, what I'm doing whilst I'm just gabbing away is turning them around so that you can see without me having to... That's there, there and there. Okay. So I'm going to do 6 more, show you 6 more figures. I got some more of these brilliant movement trays, which I think are fantastic. They hold everything together so nice. It's really good. Let me know what you think, because I painted some black, like that. Now I'm not sure. I like them. I like wood. I'm a bit of a traditionalist, so I like these bases in wood. Yeah, I've just realised what I said. Okay, but I like the I like these traditional ones, but I've also done some in black because what I do around the bases of my bases, around the sides of my bases, is I do them black. So I might have a look and see how they look in there. I haven't decided yet. Tell me what you think. What do you think? What I should do there. Now, if you remember from the last video, I tell you what, it's gone down a bit, isn't it? Come on. Just a little bit. There, that's better. Where were we? Yeah, so from the last video, I told you that I lost lost my tripod in a drunken stupor, I dare say, at one of the weddings I was at. My daughter's wedding, no less. So I'm going to do the same as what I did last time. Handheld stuff, a bit chaotic when I'm turning everything around, but bear with me, and then I'll put it back on, and we'll talk a bit about civilization in like where and how it all started, and which is still, it's all connected to what I'm doing, the wargaming I'm doing, the campaign that I'm going to build around Tudea. I just want to give you a bit of input, or a bit of background information related to, like, what I'm doing and why I've got to, why we as a people are where we are today, but also why I've got there as well, because I've been finding this really interesting, reading about Sumer and Acadia, Assyria, of course, Babylonia, Egypt. I mean, it's a really fascinating topic, and I want to share it with you guys. But first, let me show you some soldiers I've painted. So these are 6 more Assyrians I've painted. No, Babylonians I've painted. Now I'm going to quickly turn that round. Okay. And there we are. I'm going to have to put my glasses on. Now they're the 6 new. Oops. Sorry. Right. Okay. Oh, I haven't made any of you feel sick, a bit nauseous. Okay, right. So let's just zoom in. Okay, so we'll start with this guy here. A bit more. So yeah, so they're all the same. That one's got a tuft of grass. Like basically, a lot of them have that same technique. Let me just, I'm sorry, not the technique. The same tunics, like with those stripes across there. But then what I've done is I've mixed it in, so you can see this guy here. He's got more of a pattern there. I don't know what did I do with this guy. Oh, and on the back of this guy, I don't know if you see, I've put that little pattern there. These are all patterns that I've found either in books or on tablets and engravings. yeah, from places like the British War Museum, no, not the British War Museum, the British Museum, and other such places. Okay, so and there's that's those 6 done. Oops. Right, let me just hold that because that's definitely not my. I'm right-handed. I'm so right-handed. I can barely use my left. No, that's not true. That's rubbish. That's just me, like. But now, so 6 more Babylonians for my 2nd regiment. Okay. So I think they're looking alright. So you see there's the 1st regiment at the back there, 2nd regiment just starting here, and there's 6, and hopefully I'll get 6 more done. Yeah, so I think that's okay. Right, so back to me. Sorry. Right. I'll have to show you how I've mounted this up at the, like when I get my new tripod. I think I need a drink. Red wine is going. I'm really enjoying red wine at the moment. Well, the weather's changed significantly. It's not as hot as it was. So yeah. So red wine seems to be working. So we left it in the last video. We left. We were up to Mesopotamia and Sumer being possibly the cradle of civilization. But what is meant by this? What's meant by civilization? And more importantly, what's meant by that civilization? You know, would we recognise it today? Although it would have been some form of advanced state of intellectual, cultural and material development in human society. Now, when it says advanced state, it means for then, not now. You know, if we were all transported back to then, you wouldn't see iPads, you wouldn't see telephones. You certainly wouldn't see like the law systems that we use in the West. They just weren't there. So like very different from what we would have seen now. Marked progress in the arts and sciences and the use of record keeping. Now, so record keeping including writing and the appearance of complex political and social institutions. However, it's unlikely we would have recognised it as a civilization today, and that goes back to what I was just saying. What they were working with then, you've got to remember, that was the grassroots. That's where it all started. It's a bit like, you can't compare Aston Martin with a chariot. You know, the difference are huge. I mean, you know, there's a possibility that the first wheel was for some kind of wheelbarrow. You know, so that, look how far we've got to go back. You know, even before, you know, like, so you see the progress which is made, and the same is with civilization. It developed and progressed. It didn't just start off, right, this is it, we all have a code of law that we stick to and everybody does the same. No, not quite. I think the key word is development. Now, and I've said development several times. Everything changes and evolves. If we look at one particular thing which has evolved, and I've done this on purpose in the civilization. So let's look at sport. And one sport I'm particularly interested in at the moment is boxing. You can imagine the outcry if the announcer finished his introduction and then 2 blokes climbed into the ring with swords and started cutting lumps out of each other. Can you imagine can you imagine the outcry now? I mean, I like a bit of the old pugilism, but I think even I would like shirk at that and go, whoa, just a minute, what's going on? And also, I would definitely be saying, no, I don't want my son to learn boxing. I mean, cutting each other up with a sword. But back then, you know, if you think about the Roman times, gladiatorial games, well, that wasn't, the gladiatorial games was again a development of something, you know, which started much further back. Not as we imagine it was then, but it, you know, its beginnings were much further back than that. So yeah, so that gives you something, you know, like, so civilization, you know, would we have called it civilized to see 2 guys climb into a ring or an arena and cut lumps out of each other? No, we wouldn't. No. So that gives you some idea of how that develops. However, all civilizations have certain characteristics, large population centres, urban areas that can also be developed, you know, so that you can build on it. People like farmers who live outside urban centres but sell their goods and services in the centre. So you see how this is all, like, commerce is huge. Even then, you know, somebody had to make the food, create the food, and sell it to the populace inside the walls, if you like. All civilizations work to preserve their legacy by building large monuments and structures. Well, I think possibly the one which stands out the most, if you look at, so let's look at Tower of London, Eiffel Tower, you know, in France, London, and, you know, all over the world, they all build like something, you know, which will stand out, and that's no different from back then. You know, a lot of the citadels built their own shrines. The walls were built particularly high, especially around Sumer, and that's, you know, preserving their legacy. You know, a part of that. You know, look at the pyramids. Unless you believe, you know, Martians came down and built them. And I'm not saying, you know, aliens didn't come down and build the pyramids. I'm just saying that if they had, the pyramids would have been their legacy. If they weren't, you know, if it wasn't Martians or whatever, and it was people, then that is the pharaoh's legacy. See what I'm saying? So, like, you know, so we do preserve our legacy, and that's a part of what we do. And this is true today as it was 1,000 years ago, or thousands of years ago. Written communication, another part of civilization, is an element that all civilizations share. So even though there might be different types of writing, if you look at Chinese writing, is very different from the Western writing, and even languages are different. You know, so even people who share borders, France and Germany, have their own language, but they all have written communication. Writing allows systems for trade, government, and thought to develop. Written language also allows civilizations to record their own history in their own words. Now, that's massive, because if you think about it, the recording is like, especially in their own words, is like, what am I trying to say? What I'm saying is, it goes back to that thing, you know, like we've all heard it, the winners of history write history. So in their own words, so according to Pharaoh, you know, Ramesses, the Battle of Kadesh, he murdered the Hittites, he gave them a right shellacking, in his words. However, since then, archaeologists have found writings from the Hittite point of view who say, well, actually we gave them a right shellacking. So, you know, he who writes it down, you know, controls history. And I wonder how far back they were aware of that. Written language also allows civilization to record their own history. The world's oldest known written language is Sumerian, cradle of civilization, which developed in about 3100 BC. Just like writing records of modern civilization, Sumerian writing kept track of taxes, grocery bills, laws, and many other things, which is not that different from what we use it for now. But these recordings meant that people could learn from each other how to do things. So how to do something, you like by recording how to make a chariot, for example. Can you imagine the chaos if every time the oldest man died, or oldest woman, you know, whatever, somebody had to reinvent the chariot? You know, we'd have never got to Aston Martin, would we? You know, like, oh, we're going to have to reinvent a new one because Dad's died and we've forgotten how to make it. So, but writing it down, no. Now, I know there is that natural learning you pass on, but if you think about development, also relies on other people becoming involved. Yeah. So if you know how to make a chariot, but nobody else knows how to make a chariot, the development process is going to be very, very slow. But with written records, suddenly other people know how to make a chariot. Development and progress. Civilization comes from the Latin word civis, meaning citizen. Even this is changing with the global world that we live in today. Whether you like globalization or not, you know, with whatever it brings, that's where we've developed to. Of course, travel is important, and a network of roads improves communication and makes travel much easier, especially if you're trying to send armies all around the place. You're going to concentrate on building roads. Look, if you look at what the Romans did, I mean, that's the furthest example, you know, like the most extreme example. But they were all doing the same. They were all building their own roads so that their troops could get somewhere faster than the other guy. Again, what we have known is very different from, for example, yeah. So I did this on purpose. So if you look at the Appian Way, very different from the M25. M25 is a great big motorway which goes around London. For those of you who don't know London that well, or England, UK that well. The use of local leaders to administer the law in their territories meant that people were more likely to follow their instructions. Well, of course, and that's no different today. It's just more organised, well, you better paid for it, It's just more organised the way it is done now. However, people who live in territories and colonies of these, so they'd be like satellite areas. It's very rare that those people are happy. They're always upset about something. So, people are always upset, especially if a foreigner is ruling over you. I mean, we don't have to look that far back. I mean, Western civilization has endured its own revolts. Many of them are successful. The South American independence movement led to Simon Bolivia against Spain in the early 19th century, led to the independence of the countries of Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Panama. Mahatma Gandhi, the same in India against the British. So you could argue Brexit, same sort of thing. This isn't about my views. I'm trying to keep my views out of this completely. Just what I've watched and read. Many people feel that Europe had too much control over the United Kingdom. So Brexit, that's what happened, and it kind of links in. Generally, historically, people aren't happy about being ruled by a leader who isn't their own nationality, or at least in their own country. And the royal family, for example, we had Germans, didn't we, come over, and they were kings and queens. We took that because they were in our country. I don't know why we took that, but that's what we did, and that's not what this piece is about. So I'm digressing a little bit. Civilizations are also marked by complex divisions of labour. This means that different people perform specialised tasks. In a purely agricultural civilization, most members of a community would know how to farm. They'd also know how to cook, and they'd also know how to hunt. You only have to look at any farm now. What farmer do you not know has a shotgun? They all do, because they all know how to hunt. And we've not lost that, have we? In complex civilization, farmers may cultivate one type of cropland, depending on other people for clothing, shelter, and information. So you see, it's suddenly become specific labour for a specific job. Now the farmers are producing food, whereas the tailors and the tinkers are producing other types of things which the farmer would buy. So now you've got that. Commerce is starting, isn't it? But people are buying and selling from each other. And that's part of the civilization. That's how that works. Trade goes, so trade such goods as gold, iron, or slaves, whilst others provided food and shelter. So that's, that just gives you some idea of the sort of things they were trading in them days. Slaves, I would imagine, would be very controversial now. It would, yeah. Quite rightly so. But then, everybody did it. Everybody was doing it. Everybody wanted slaves then, because that helped you develop and progress. Not the slaves, no, they didn't develop and progress, but the people who had the slaves. Urban centres is also a centre of learning. Its division of labour included not only merchants, but doctors, religious leaders, artists, the list goes on. This change and development especially marked divisions of labour. This is where we're getting. This is where we're going. I don't know if how civilization is a good thing for a lot of people, but not necessarily for everybody. The last element, or no, that's not true, because everybody would benefit from civilization. It would just mean that some benefit more. That's my view. The last element that is key to the development of civilization is the division of people into social classes. I suppose that's where I was aiming. This is a complex idea that can be broken down into two parts: income and type of work. And that's true then as much as it is today. Civilizations expand through trade, war, exploration. Usually all three elements need to be present for a civilization to grow and remain in power or to continue for a long period. Those who weren't successful at all three of those, somewhere along the line, didn't last for very long. So that's my little chat about the development of civilizations. I've done a lot of research. So some of this is my own words, some of this is from what I've written, and some of it is from a mixture of both. It's not much, but mostly these are my views, mixed with what I've read. And more importantly, they're my own opinions. They're my opinion. What I've read, there are my opinions of what I've read and what I know. Now, if you have different views, share. I really would like to know, because if you point something out to me, something maybe I hadn't thought about, or something where you thought I was wrong, and that's fine. It won't be the first time I've been wrong in my life, I'll tell you that. And I'm not precious about it. If I'm wrong, tell me. Let me know. If there are things you agree with, tell me again. And the reason I'm saying this is because I'm going to set up these campaigns. I'm going to start off with the first king of Syria, Judea. But I want to do a lot more campaigns than just Assyrian. I want to go through lots of historical periods. And the comments you give me from here now will help me develop those campaigns. Yeah, more interest in your idea, the more interest in the campaign. So that's me done again. Hopefully I'll get another 6 figures done, and maybe I'll be able to write out some more of this history stuff. Let me know if you like this. Yeah, if this floats your boat, or if you'd rather I just talked about wine, whatever, rugby, sport. Love rugby, love sport, but love rugby. Yeah, so let me know, and I'll speak to you soon. All the best then, take care, bye.